Imagine you are lying in bed, feeling snug, listening to the rain, when suddenly you remember you have to go to work or to school. Jumping up, you race to the door when suddenly you see outside the window a beautiful rainbow. The rain has stopped and you're feeling elated seeing the view. With this you go to work. You may not realize it, but you've just experienced the first 3 layers of the mind. According to ancient yoga and tantra, as well as by more contemporaries like the late great philosopher and tantric mystic Purification, known also as Sri Sri Anandamurti, the mind is made up of 5 layers. It is different to the brain, which is a physical structure in the head. According to Tantra Yoga, mind and in fact this universe comes from cosmic consciousness. One way to understand this is to imagine that consciousness is like a vast ocean. But when a part of it becomes more condensed due to a decrease in water temperature, ice appears. While ice is solid and the water is not, they are made up of the same substance, that is, water. Similarly, everything is condensed cosmic consciousness, including our mind, body, and this world, which are all different expressions of cosmic consciousness. Mind is a psychic phenomenon which pervades the body and brain. However, because it works closely with and through the brain, it is wrongly felt as being part of the physical brain. There are plenty of examples which demonstrate that brain and mind are different. The Indian yogi Swami Rama demonstrated to scientists his ability to control his body in a way which the brain could not. This included remaining fully conscious while his brain was in deep sleep. Swami was able also, using only his mind, to cause a 14-inch needle 5 feet from him to spin. There are cases of people recounting everything surgeons have been discussing while being operated on, despite being fully sedated. I'm sure you've experienced not being aware of someone talking to you, even though they are talking right in front of you. This is because despite the visual and audio informations coming into your brain, your mind was not wanting to receive them. Instead, it was focused on some other thought or idea, effectively blocking out this information. The way the brain-mind relationship works is the mind interprets the information brain gets from the sensory organs and then manifests it for you, the ego self, to perceive. Whatever thoughts or images you have are to be found in the mind, not the brain, where you'll only find a lot of biochemical reactions and electrical currents, but no clear image, because the image is formed in the mind, not the brain. One way to understand the mind-body concept is, if the body is like a car, the engine is the brain and the driver is the mind. Both body, brain and mind need to work well in harmony with each other, just as the car, engine and driver also need to be harmonious. The mind is made up of 5 layers or koshas, although in Tantra Yoga there is a 6th layer, which is the physical body. The body is needed for the mind to function in the physical and mundane world. The health of our body greatly affects how well our mind functions in this world. So a healthy body is important, and generally it is achieved through proper food and exercise. The ancient yogis also included yoga postures known as asanas to improve our physical health. These yoga postures were originally invented to aid meditation because it's very difficult to meditate if you're sick. Yoga literally means union with God or with our higher self or cosmic consciousness. Yoga postures are only a small part of yoga and as an aid to meditation and self-realization. When these yoga postures are done correctly and according to the rules of yoga, their benefits are on a deep cellular level, making the body and mind conducive for deep spiritual meditation. So developing the body through good food and exercise is important as well. Of course, only being concerned with your body can create some significant imbalances as well. Some people become too obsessed with how they look or their physical health and fitness, or with their diet and food. So that was the physical body. Now let's look at the 5 layers that go up to make up the mind. First I'll describe to you its function, and then how to develop the layer, including according to Tantra Yoga. The mind and its layers have often been likened to an onion, in that if you peel away one layer, there is another, and still another. Like this, the layers of the mind are within each other. Each layer is still more subtle, larger, and with greater consciousness or awareness than the previous layer. The first layer is the layer of physical desire and instincts. It is sometimes referred to as the conscious mind, but only very loosely. Crude mind is more accurate. It is concerned with all the physical feelings of the body, including from the sensory and motor organs. Through these organs, this layer of physical desires performs its main function of sensing, desiring, and acting. First we sense something through our physical sensory organs. Then we desire it. Then through our motor organs we act on getting it. The major desires of the physical body are known as our cardinal or animal instincts, being food, sex, sleep, and fear. Fear includes the desire for security or safety. Most aggressions are also rooted in this fear instinct. These instincts are also the basis of other feelings like anger, pride, jealousy, lust, greed, and attachment. Some balance and rational control is needed to prevent them from becoming excessive, otherwise they can lead to physical and mental health problems. Eating and sleeping disorders, sex addictions, and various phobias and paranoias are ways these physical instincts can manifest if left unchecked. On the other hand, if there is too much control, it can become suppressive, and that can result in even worse unhealthy expressions. History is littered with cases of unhealthy outcomes when people suppress their animal instincts. So the way to properly regulate and develop this layer of desires is through moderation in our worldly and physical enjoyments. In yoga, there is the healthy control and expression of these physical instincts, which are called yama and niyama. Animals and humans share these 4 basic instincts. However, it is the expression of the next higher layers of mind that distinguish us from animals. So it is important to know and understand these next layers. The next layer of mind is even more subtle and expanded than the previous layer, and is known as the layer of thinking, or sometimes the subconscious mind, although subtle mind is more accurate. It is here that all our deep thoughts, memory, rationalizing, analyzing, logic, reasoning, problem solving, and all other forms of intellectual work occur. While the desire mind gets enjoyment from physicalities, here in the thinking mind, it gets its enjoyment from the world of ideas, or anything that stimulates the mind, be it deep study or thinking, or from an interesting movie or game played. The internet, social media, and various devices are also now providing mental pleasures, some becoming all-consuming and addictive, causing the mind to become unbalanced. This thinking layer has also been referred to as the subconscious mind, probably because it is here where dreams and recollection take place. But as you can see, a lot more than dreams are experienced here. Dreams, by the way, occur from brain stimulus, which this thinking mind then experiences. This happens when the brain is in a sleep state. However, the same layer of mind that experiences dreams also experiences wakeful states as well, as stated before. If there is too much focus on this thinking layer of the mind, an imbalance can occur, resulting in oversensitivity, neurotic behavior, and/or excessive intellectual pride. The best way to balance and develop this thinking mind is to avoid views that are narrow or irrationally dogmatic, which inhibit our capacity for mental expansion and to see the bigger picture. While this layer is good for analyzing the trees and its leaves, it's not necessarily good for understanding the forest. So to understand the so-called forest, the next layer needs to be developed as well. Another thing to remember is by becoming more grounded in physical activities can also offset the negativities of developing this thinking layer too much. The yogis taught pranayama, or breathing exercises for developing this layer of the mind. Actually, pranayama is not about controlling the breath, but about controlling one's vital energy called prana, which is connected with our breathing. By making our breathing slow, we slow down our mind and can concentrate better. Getting angry or excited speeds up the mind and breathing, making it difficult to concentrate. Just ask someone a complicated question immediately after a long run or exercise, and they'll say something like, "Hold on a minute, let me get my breath back," meaning let me slow down my mind and breathing so I can think better. The previous two layers of mind are unique to everyone. However, the next three layers are common to all, although we may experience them differently according to our personality and conditionings. For example, a religious person might see angels or religious symbols, while an atheist or non-religious person might instead perceive light or hear an inner voice. Also, as we go deeper into these higher layers, we feel greater and greater connectivity with everything, rather than the separate individualistic existence that we usually feel. Here our awareness and consciousness is very different and in fact transcendental, due to the greater influence of cosmic consciousness. These next three layers are called the unconscious mind, or the causal or astral mind. To experience these higher layers, first we have to quieten the previous lower two. It's like if you want to see the bottom of a pond, first your waters have to be very clean and calm. So some kind of meditation is very helpful here. So the next layer, which is the first of three layers that go to make up the unconscious mind, is known as the intuitive layer. I'm sure many of you have experienced this layer of the mind in the form of gut feelings, intuitive insights, and creative inspiration. Remember the story I told you in the beginning of waking up but not wanting to get out of your cozy bed? That was your desire mind at work. But then when your mind said that you had to get up because of work or school commitments, that was your rational thinking mind. However, when you walked past the window and you got that inspired feeling from the rainbow, that was you experiencing this creative, intuitive layer of the mind. You didn't need to analyze the scenery to decide it was beautiful and inspiring, did you? It came immediately, in a flash. This is where artists, psychics, and even some scientists get their creativity and intuitional insights from. Michelangelo spoke of the seizure of the soul with inspiration from the Holy Ghost, indicating this layer was at work. Einstein said his theory of relativity didn't come from logic or reasoning, but through intuition. He also spoke of the need to develop one's imagination, which comes from this creative, intuitive layer of the mind. Unfortunately, most scientists only use the analytical function of the previously mentioned thinking mind, losing their ability to see the big picture. Fortunately, some scientists are and have been using this intuitive layer more and coming up with great advances like quantum physics and Einstein's theory of relativity. The visionary poet and artist William Blake said, "If the doors of perception were cleansed, man would see things as they really are, infinite." The doors are these koshas or layers of the mind, particularly these higher unconscious levels of mind. Many artists, writers, etc. instinctively go to the country where they can focus on their creativity and avoid worldly distractions, thereby allowing this creative layer of mind to find expression. Many artists or creative types also instinctively want to create an environment that is aesthetically pleasing to stimulate this creative layer, so their house, clothes, and/or room are fashioned accordingly. Uplifting music or artistic creations have also the ability to take us to this supra-mundane world, freeing us from our mundane drudgeries, at least while the music lasts. For this reason, encouragement of the fine arts is important for our peace of mind. This intuitive mind can also give us flashes of profound knowledge, including of future events yet to occur. In fact, it is called the layer of ESP, or extrasensory perception, which can include mind reading, clairvoyance, dream prophecy, psychokinetics, astral travel, psychic or energy healing, seeing auras, shamanism, hallucination drug experiences, contacting spirits, talking in tongues, seeing angels, and many other forms of metaphysical, religious, or psychic phenomenon. Many indigenous people have access to many of the abilities of this intuitive mind. It is here in the intuitive mind that some very focused sports people can experience going into the zone, where they can perform on an intuitive level without the need to think rationally. It just happens spontaneously. Surfers may also experience this layer when going inside the wave, or barrel as it's called, due to the calming and focusing of the mind effect it has. Many extreme sports people also experience it due to the fear factor creating a very focused, distraction-free mind. This intuitive layer is developed by withdrawing your mind from worldly distractions. To focus our mind, by default, means we have to withdraw our mind from all other things to concentrate the mind on the focused object. This then gives us access to this intuitive layer of the mind. So when psychics focus on a crystal ball, tea leaves, or cards, it is not that these things have some inherent intuitional power, but rather these objects give the psychic something for their mind to focus on, thereby opening up this ESP ability. Normally our busy extroverted minds are in a constant state of stimulated distractions, unable to focus on anything for very long. Everything we see, hear and feel in this world stimulates our physical senses and distracts us. But when we're able to truly withdraw from these multiple distractions and properly focus, a kind of euphoric or inner peace can be experienced. This inner peace happens in meditation, and why it has become so popular for many in our busy Western societies. When through this withdrawal we tap into our creative intuitive mind, we can get all kinds of benefits, not only inner peace and a stress-free mind, but also intuitive knowledge. For example, often I experience in my meditation a sudden realization of a solution to a problem. In fact, one time I suddenly got a vision where I'd lost my keys. After the meditation I followed the vision and I found my keys. This intuitive mind is connected with the universal mind, so we can gain access to some of its knowledge. If this layer is developed to the exclusion of other layers, then serious problems can occur, like escapist or addictive tendencies, or neglecting social or personal responsibilities, which among other things can cause ill health. This next layer is called the layer of special knowledge, or of profound spiritual wisdom. And what is this profound wisdom? There are two. The first one is the wisdom of conscience and discrimination. Here the ego and will are still existing, but at a much more self-reflective state, and it acts as a witness of ego's activities. This is in contrast to the lower levels of mind, which are bound up by ego's restlessness, attachments and aversions. This wisdom layer also gives us spiritual discrimination and conscience. This is because, due to the strong influence of cosmic consciousness, it is very clear what will lead us to our spiritual self or cosmic consciousness and what will not. The influence of ego is not totally gone, but nevertheless significantly less. So caution and a balanced restraint in worldly life is still required. Many have fallen at this stage due to laxness regarding moral restraint, especially concerning money, sex, power and prestige. The second profound wisdom is worldly detachment. This worldly detachment has wrongly been interpreted as meaning renunciation of world and family life. However, neither is necessary, but what it does mean is to remain detached while utilizing the world. Spiritual discrimination gives us the knowledge to know what to do in order to achieve our spiritual goal, and detachment gives us the emotional strength to be able to follow it. We can be deeply inspired by words about living in the present, or the oneness of everything, and other high-sounding truths. However, until we get this detachment and profound wisdom, we won't be able to achieve these states. They will remain as bookish knowledge because they have not yet been internalized by our spiritual practices. This layer gives us many divine, saint-like qualities, as you can see. This layer of mind is connected to our Anahat, or heart chakra, situated roughly in the center of our chest, and it is the control of various noble emotions. As you'll see by the chart, these layers or koshas are connected with each of the first 5 chakras. The 2 chakras above are related to infinite consciousness. Here we can develop the ability to perceive all the subtle vibrations of the universe. Many gurus or spiritual masters are at this level. This profound wisdom layer of mind is developed by concentration or focused attention on one's higher self or cosmic consciousness. Most spiritual mantra meditations are based on some kind of concentration related to supreme consciousness. In fact, everything about the traditional practices of the yogis and mystics of old involved achieving God consciousness through this kind of concentration on something related to God or cosmic consciousness. So now we come to the last layer of the mind, which is the most subtle and the most expanded of all the layers, and it is called the golden layer, or the layer of devotion. This layer gives off a golden glow, and ego, or sense of individual or body identity, is minimal here. Rather, here we feel a strong identification with our universal self. Here we feel, I am one with God or the universe. A feeling that you are never alone or helpless, because you are experiencing the force that is guiding the universe is also guiding you. Because of this very close proximity to divine consciousness, there is a strong pull or attraction towards the infinite. Strong devotional feelings are felt and are stimulated by devotional singing or spiritual mantras. And because one's mind is very close to the cosmic mind, one achieves many of the powers and knowledge of the universal cosmic mind. In yoga, this layer of devotion is developed by loving meditation on cosmic consciousness. Here in divine meditation, the mind flows to cosmic consciousness, like the river flows to the sea. As you draw closer to cosmic consciousness, the following qualities become very predominant: greater inner peace, contentment and fulfillment, a feeling of relief from worldly afflictions and wants, instead developing a strong desire for inner knowledge and bliss. Also a feeling of supreme positivity and confidence is here. Finally, there is a tremendous feeling of universal love and a desire for selfless service. Because cosmic consciousness is the essence of all things, including our inner self, we naturally feel here this interconnectedness and empathy with all things: humans, animals, plants, the environment, everything. As these neo-humanistic feelings increase, we know that they are signs of real spiritual progress and enlightenment. It is not uncommon for someone, after having one of these bliss consciousness experiences, even just for a few seconds, to give up their worldly pursuits and to follow a new spiritual path. Such is the power of cosmic consciousness. Throughout history, men and women from both East and West have experienced this supreme state. One American hermit wrote of his experience saying, he felt utterly and intricately connected to everything in this world. it was difficult for him to tell where his body ended and the woods began. The late Dr. Richard Burke wrote about his cosmic experience, saying, "The whole universe was bathed in a sea of love. Now at last I know what love is. This is God's love. Love, unconquerable love, all-satisfying love." In this state of God consciousness, Burke went about his daily duties, but with a hitherto unknown efficiency and speed. He was a student at the time and passed all his examinations without looking at a textbook. His mind was bathed in a sea of knowledge. Fatigue was unknown to him, and his work seemed like child's play, happy and carefree. To better understand this concept of cosmic consciousness in relationship to our mind's layers, I've made this graph. Not to be taken too literally, if you look at the coloured dots, the whites represent consciousness, while the browns represent our body desires and ego. The closer we go towards infinite consciousness, the less our ego and even less our animal instincts dominate the mind. The layers closer to the body are more dominated by the body desires and ego. The wave at the bottom is to convey the idea that towards cosmic consciousness there is less and less vibrations or waves, while towards the body and the physical there are more, making consciousness more dense. And so we are affected more by the influences of the physical world. For many spiritual seekers, their minds will for the most part fluctuate between the influences of consciousness and that of their worldly instincts and ego. However, after much perseverance and deep regular meditation, eventually they'll reach this last layer, where it is nearly all consciousness dominated. Beyond this, it is all cosmic consciousness. Within cosmic mind, this universe is created. In fact, anything that exists or has a vibration or frequency is contained in the cosmic mind. Everything is a cosmic dream or psychic imagination of the infinite cosmic mind, something some scientists also believe. Beyond the mind, we are beyond the influences of our physical or worldly desires, fears or afflictions. Here our minds have become one with the cosmic mind or cosmic consciousness, giving us endless peace, love and bliss. It is the state of full enlightenment or self-realization. This is achieved by perfecting or purifying all the layers of the mind. Many may claim to have reached this state of complete enlightenment or self-realization, but for those who generally have, are very blessed because they have reached the goal and purpose of life. We are all destined to reach this state eventually. It's just a matter of when, in this life or many lives later. It's our choice. And as the great Tantric Master Sri Sri Anandamurti said, "Fill your heart with the love of the infinite, and your soul will be transformed into the Supreme Soul. No worldly happiness is limitless. Dedicate yourself completely to the blissful ocean of the Supreme Soul. Then alone will you realize what happiness really is." The yogic system for purification of all the layers of the mind, including the body, is called Astanga Yoga or Raja Yoga, as the diagram shows. As stated before, all the layers have to be developed fully and in a balanced way. Developing only the higher layers may give us bliss and powers, but there will be problems with the functioning of the lower layers, creating an impractical approach to life, and misuse of powers and knowledge are always possible. Similarly, developing the lower ones will only create problems with the higher layers like spiritual emptiness, ignorance and frustration. We all want unlimited happiness and fulfillment in our lives. And it's through the balanced development of all these layers that we can achieve this, which is our innate purpose of life.